The situation in the United States now with the fake President Trump reminds me of a friend who has a sister who is a drug addict. And she borrowed money from all her relatives and friends and everybody until the well went dry, and they wouldn't lend her anymore. And now she says that she won the lottery and she's going to pay back everyone with interest. The problem is she didn't win the lottery. It's delusional. The same thing is happening with the fake President Trump. This has been going on for a while now. He says he's got $18 trillion in investment promises from around the world. This is just not true. It's not happening. Nobody's investing anything. Then he says he's got $18 trillion in revenue from tariffs, when in fact his revenue is $238 billion, which is not even enough to cover a month's deficit, trade deficit, or budget deficit for that matter. And now we're seeing some similar delusional behavior as far as Greenland is concerned. He thinks that somehow by grabbing Greenland, which is part of a NATO allied state, that it's going to solve all his monetary problems because they've got all these rare earths. Again, the problem is, even if they do, it'll take 7 to 8 years to develop, and he's got bills coming due on January 31st, so it's not going to be on time. The same with Venezuela. He says, oh, we got all this Venezuelan oil. Yeah, all right, they've been stealing oil tankers, but guess what? U.S. has also had oil tankers stolen from them in the Middle East, so that's not working. And the big attempt to grab Iran's the gold, has failed. The real reason for this failed color revolution in Iran was, as I wrote in my weekly report, to grab the Persian gold hoard, which is apparently huge. It's more than the official reserves of the entire world. And remember, the official reserves are only gold that was recognized by the Western financial system and has their stamp on it. It's not the real amount of gold in the world. In any case, the rest of the world is not accepting any more IOUs from the United States. They want payment in physical silver or physical gold. And the fact that they failed to grab the gold in Iran means they're desperate. I don't see any way out of it except one, which is to accept the Dragon family offer of $100 trillion. This would be used to finance the Jubilee, to cancel all debt, public and private, in the West, to finance a huge rebuild of U.S. infrastructure, for example, a high-speed train network connecting the whole country, all sorts of things. And also, we would promise that we would cancel all debt, public and private, and everybody would become the owner of their current residence. And landlords would be compensated with the equivalent in rent. And as it's been pointed out, people who actually own their own houses and paid for them will be given an extra reward in the form of ownership of corporations that will be confiscated from the satanic oligarchs who stole it through central bank fraud. So all that is going to happen, but in the meantime, we still have this delusional megalomaniac who thinks he's Donald Trump. He's trying to invoke the Insurrection Act, and here you can watch the head of the Israeli Homeland Security. Remember, Homeland Security's headquarters is in Israel, and we have Christine Noem in this clip. You can watch her talk about the Insurrection Act.
Do you have any plans to pull out of Minnesota?
No plans to pull out of Minnesota.
How would you describe what you were seeing on the ground there? Would you describe it as an insurrection, and do you believe the president should invoke the Insurrection Act?
I describe it as violent and a violation of the law in many places. I discussed with the president this morning several things that we are dealing with under the department and different operations. We did discuss the Insurrection Act. He certainly has the constitutional authority to utilize that. My hope is that this leadership team in Minnesota will start to work with us to get criminals off the streets.
what this means is they want to use the military to shoot American civilians in order to impose a dictatorship ruled by their fake Trump. That's what it means. Uh, and unfortunately, there's people also working against legitimate law enforcement to try to create a crisis to justify this military takeover. I do believe we need a military takeover, but not one controlled by the satanic Zionists. And you can spot them because they're the ones who are covering up all the Jeffrey Epstein files because they're in them. So, anybody like Pam Bondi or anybody in the current regime that you're seeing on your screens does not belong in public office. Okay. Now, another thing that's going on is just like when the Romanian regime fell with Ceausescu, he kept ramping up repression and ramping it up until him and his whole family ended in front of a firing squad. And we're seeing similar repression in the United States. And, for example, I'm pretty sure that the creator of Dilbert, Scott Adams, who just died, was killed with a cancer-causing poison. And we know that, was it Jonathan Greenblatt, CEO of the ADL, is going after people like Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens. And as a result, I've been told that a death warrant has been placed on him because he is killing journalists and trying to suppress the truth. So another person who I've heard a death warrant has been put on is Lindsey Graham, because he's been calling for the assassination of Vladimir Putin, the sitting head of state. So this is not issued by us. This is issued by someone else. I'm not at liberty to discuss who they are, but they told me that such warrants had been issued. So, the battle is going on, but we are winning. And the control grid is failing. For example, we have the Iranian Foreign Ministry explaining to Fox News that the killing in Iran was carried out by Mossad. Please watch this clip.
For one reason, they wanted to increase the number of deaths. Why? Because President Trump has said that if there are killings, he would intervene. And they wanted to drag him into this conflict. And that was exactly an Israeli plot. They wanted to drag the President of the United States in this conflict. So they started to increase the number of deaths by killing ordinary people, by killing police officers, by starting a kind of, fighting inside the different cities.
Mr. Foreign Minister, you're saying that these killings, these deaths are at the hands of foreign elements inside your country, not by the Iranian regime. That's not what we're being told when we get people to talk to us on the ground. The internet has been shut off, but occasionally turns back on, and we do hear from people on the ground who tell us various stories. Witnesses spoke of seeing snipers positioned on rooftops in downtown Tehran, firing into crowds of peaceful protests, turning abruptly into scenes of carnage, panic as bullets pierced through people's heads and torsos, sending bodies toppling to the ground, and an emergency room treating 19 gunshot patients in a single hour. The regime is on a killing spree, said one protester, and we've seen the video of body bags stacking up. You were saying that all of this is because you're not in control of your country and foreign elements are killing people inside your country?
No, I'm telling you that it was a fighting between our security forces and terrorist elements who had a plan to create a big number of killings in order to provoke President Trump to enter into this conflict and start a new war against Iran. And that was exactly an Israeli plot. The footages that you mentioned have not been seen in Iran. I have to tell you that a misinformation campaign is going on at the same time.
And you're suggesting that it's Israel and Mossad acting like Iranian forces, shooting the Iranian people to make casualties to spur on the action of President Trump. I'm just saying there's a lot of people that don't believe that, Mr. Foreign Minister.
No, Mossad has already confessed that.
They may be on the ground, sir, but as far as them killing hundreds and hundreds of people to make it look like you did, it does not appear in the video that we get out.
What's interesting is that it got through onto the U.S. screens because this whole recipe for color revolution involves causing, first of all, economic turmoil so that people get unhappy. Then they pay protesters and target the anger towards the regime. And then they have people shooting both the police and the protesters to try to get them to fight each other. And they tried this, and instead, what happened was the Mossad snipers were taken out, and the Iranian armed forces were able to protect their country and their people. And of course, you won't see that on your Western screens because, unfortunately, these criminals still control the mega corporations, and that's what needs to be taken away from them. We need to remove their control of Google, Microsoft, all the big high-tech companies. They need to be removed from that control. And also, the United States military really, really does need to get back to the real world and live within its means, because right now it is a gigantic parasite. For example, take a look at this clip of a so-called rocket company that got $4 million from the U.S. military.
They're walking up to a place that's a TGV rocket company. So apparently these people build rockets. They've gone over $4 million from the government, and it's ran by a guy named Pat Bond. Now, this to me does not look like a rocket company. This apparently is a $4 million rocket company according to the DOD. Now, who approves this?
And we're in a Hub C zone. Fabian, what is a Hub C zone?
So a Hub C zone, according to the SBA, is a zone that's not really built up. That's more, as you can see, run down. So they give preferential treatment for grants to companies that are set up in these zones. So we don't even know if the guy even lives here, if he's renting it out to someone and he just owns the place. But technically it's a rocket company that's rented out to other tenants, which makes it even weirder if that's the case.
The thing that really pisses off a lot of people, obviously, is that places like this shouldn't be receiving $4 million of taxpayers' money to say that they create rockets in places like this. And we know for a fact that an individual receives one grant after another. This isn't a one-time grant. This is one grant after another phase one grants. And the goal of the phase one grants is they give you about $200,000 or so just to get into phase two and to say that you've developed what you needed to in phase one so you can get the larger sum of money. So obviously that place is located right next to a 7-Eleven, and you know better than anybody if they were actually manufacturing any types of rockets, it'd be such a massive safety hazard. Obviously this is blatant fraud.
Okay, that's the sort of thing that happens when you have a magic money machine, but ultimately it's parasitical. It sucks from the strength of the country you're supposed to be supporting, and that's no way to run a military. If the military was run by sane people, one of the first things they would do is get rid of all those aircraft carriers, because as the Chinese have pointed out, the Russians can sink them all within half an hour if they want to. They've got the missiles to do that. So militarily, they're expensive white elephants, and they need to be removed, and the money saved should be put on, building hypersonic missiles. This is the sort of thing that needs to be done as soon as we get sane leadership. And again, the last time we offered this $100 trillion from the Dragon family, the forensic trail led to Barack Hussein, Thunder of Satan Obama, who blocked this money from being used to help rebuild America. And this time, the money is being blocked by the Rothschild family, who are using the fake Trump who's been around since June of last year. And that's what's blocking it now. So, we have Jean-Michel de Rothschild posing as Brigitte Macron. We have Nathaniel Rothschild. We have the Edmund de Rothschild Bank. We have Barclays Bank. And we have the Vatican Bank. These are the people who are preventing the rebuilding of the West and refusing the generous offer from the Dragon family to help rebuild Western industry and rebuild Western civilization. But it will happen anyway. We're going to have to let things collapse a bit more. It looks like Israel is being abandoned. Ehud Barak has been spotted fleeing the country. Benjamin Netanyahu has left. And I was told by the Iranians that the satanic, racist state of Israel is going to be replaced by the nation state of Judea, which will be a multi-ethnic, multi-religious state, and that the temple will be rebuilt once Judea is established. And the Jewish people will be freed from thousands of years of satanic slavery. This is, to the U.S. military and to the law enforcement agencies. Take a look at this clip about baby formula from Florida.
Today, As part of our Healthy Florida First initiative, we are launching what will be a series of, I believe, major announcements focused on safety and integrity of our food supply. We are beginning with baby formula because it affects the most vulnerable among us, and we have an obligation that we absolutely must get this right. The Florida Department of Health has collected 24 infant formulas from 7 different brands purchased for multiple locations, both online and in stores. Those samples were tested for arsenic, cadmium, lead, and mercury. And what we found in those 24 samples was troubling. Of the 24 infant formulas tested, 16 of those formulas contained at least one, if not more, heavy metals that exceeded federal standards. There is a silver lining, however, that is really important to mention. Some of the formulas did not show elevated levels. That tells us that contamination is not inevitable. There are better choices for parents, but we have to stay on top of this, and we have to drive accountability.
So 16 out of 24 samples contained toxic substances. The same is true of 90% of the cheese. Okay, we have these Satanists who control the fake Trump are literally trying to poison you and your family. Okay, we need to take action. This is legitimate self-defense. They've been caught poisoning us, and this is not something that you could just idly stand by and let happen. Please remove these people. We're all waiting for you to get off your butts and do it. I'm personally doing everything I can. I want everyone else listening here to do the same. We've got to end this. The nightmare has to end, and humanity has to be liberated from this satanic nightmare. Okay, that's what I have to say for myself today. Now I'd like to answer questions from readers and viewers.
Hi, Ben. Are you saying the ICE agent who shot the woman in Minneapolis is a Israeli Defense Force officer? Your quote from last week, "We have foreign troops killing American citizens," is that what you meant?
Well, I've been provided with evidence that a lot of the ICE agents are actually Israeli Defense Force soldiers, and that most of them have been trained by the Israelis. The same people who are killing people in Gaza. But as far as that particular agent is concerned, I have no idea. He may well be an American citizen, but he's been filmed murdering someone in cold blood illegally, and he should be in jail. Next question.
Hi, Ben. We'd like to get your thoughts on the current mayor of Minnesota.
You know what? I'm going to skip on that one because I don't have enough knowledge to give you an informed comment, but I will try to do some research on that and talk about it in my next weekly report. Next question.
Hi, Ben. Weekly, you tell that the Chabad death cult is going to be removed, but could you list the names of the individuals running this cult and where their operations are conducted from, if you are aware?
I believe that you could actually look it up online. They're openly listed, and the names are available. But what you have to understand is that Chabad are the army, the brain control army, but the real leadership is the Octagon Group, the Rothschild family, the people at who control the World Economic Forum. But Chabad centers, they for years they say, "Oh, we're just a harmless Jewish group. We mean good," but the reality, as can be seen in their own writings, is that they have been working to kill 90% of humanity. But again, it's all public information. Just look up Chabad, and you'll find a list of all their locations. Next question.